Ken Ofori-Atta's continuous role as finance minister has been questioned over a U-turn on the decision to return to the IMF for support. Government in 2018 exited from its 16th IMF program with the promise not to return to the fund, at least not under the current government. This promise seemed to have formed basis for government policy as the NPP government, against all odds, pushed a tax policy as alternative to an IMF bailout. But 2 months into its implementation, the government has made a decision to return to the fund for support as the tax policy is performing below par. For many, Ghana has arrived at this point because of the leadership of Ken Ofori-Atta at the Finance Ministry. Former President John Dramani Mahama, for instance, in a Facebook post, argued that the finance minister supervised the collapse of the economy and cannot be part of the team of negotiators. He charged President Akufo-Addo to terminate his appointment. An economist, Dr. Tio Echampon, who agrees with this position, believes the change in stance is enough reason to warrant his dismissal.
I don't personally think that we are rigorous enough with the data, with the evidence base, and we're not, or from the government point of view, seeking enough alternative views on the right course of action. So what must we do quickly? I think the first thing really is that the president has to demonstrate some sort of corrective action. One, I would love to see some ministers, taking the axe for this, in the sense that the finance minister has already indicated that, in a sense, philosophically, he's against going to the fund. And I think it's also been in power perhaps for a bit too long. So I would think that perhaps the time has come for the finance minister maybe to take a bow.
But for former President John Mahama, it should not end with the sacking of Ken Ofori-Atta. He believes Vice President Dr. Bawumia should be relieved of his responsibilities as chair of the economic management team. The former president further advised the government to be strategic in coming up with a comprehensive homegrown program for support. Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Dr. John Kwache, thinks the first step to the negotiations is for government to come clean on reasons for the change in policy direction.
I want government to give us the reasons why they are taking us to the IMF. It's not stated in the notice. I'm sure that if you polled Ghanaians as to whether we should go to the IMF or not, an overwhelming majority will say we shouldn't be going, I'm sure. So government should tell us why they are a minority and why they are taking us to the IMF. Very quickly, they should come up with that. Then, of course, looking at the future program, because now we have decided we are going, they should also involve the public, civil society organizations, in putting the program together.
Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South wants government to give up on some of its flagship programs to cut down expenditure.
IMF is to cut spending, so they were doing the opposite. In terms of measures to enhance revenue, what did they do? When they came in, they cut what they call nuisance taxes. Now, taxes are tax revenue. So if you are supposed to enhance, tax revenue, and you are supposed to rationalize or cut the expenditure, and you are doing the opposite because you have 1D, 1F, free education, which is a good thing. You have planting for food and jobs, and all these programs that cost a lot of money. A bulk of the borrowing that got this government to where they are in borrowing is the money they borrowed into these flagship programs that so far hasn't worked.
An NPP activist and a former deputy managing director of the National Investment Bank is hopeful the government will stabilize and grow the economy.
The president said one thing. He says, listen, we know how to turn an economy around, but we don't know how to bring dead bodies back to life. And I'm telling you, NPP, we are going to turn this thing around. It's not something that is devastating. It's not something that is going to kill us, but it's something that when we put our minds together, and I'm imploring on everybody, all the Joe Jacksons, the Dr. Kwache, the Theo Achampong, Lord Minster and everything, they should all come on board and accept that, listen, whatever the decision, let us all come on board. Let us hold hands and say that, listen, it is about Ghana, it is about this country, and we want to see the light, because there is light at the end of the tunnel.